The phone felt cold in my hand. My daughter-in-law Sarah's voice came through, sweet as always, but with an edge I'd come to recognize. "We got married yesterday, Margaret." It was an intimate ceremony, just close family and friends, close family. The words hung in the air. Me, who'd paid their $600 monthly rent for 3 years, bought their furniture, filled their pantry when money was tight, I wasn't considered close family. I stood frozen in my kitchen, watching my son John avoid my gaze while Sarah relaxed on the leather sofa I'd bought them. The navy blue dress I'd selected for the wedding hung in my closet, tags still on, a $300 reminder of dreams that would never be. I'd planned everything, set aside $2,000 as their wedding gift, told my sister Clara the good news, even deep cleaned my house hoping they'd visit after the ceremony. John finally spoke, his voice rehearsed. "Mom, it was a small, last-minute thing, just us and the necessary witnesses, but I knew better. Social media showed me the truth. Sarah's parents smiling in photos, her brothers raising champagne glasses. Sarah in a white dress I'd helped pay for with the $900 I gave her last month for something special." 7 days after that conversation, Sarah called again. Her tone had completely changed, desperate, almost begging. "Margaret, please. The rent is due and the landlord is threatening to evict us. You forgot to send the money this month." I remained silent, remembering all the times I'd rushed to the bank during my lunch break to transfer their rent money, the vacations I'd canceled to cover their emergencies, the simple meals I'd eaten to afford their luxuries. And now, after excluding me from my only son's wedding, they called as if nothing had happened. "Sarah," I said, my voice surprisingly steady, "I thought I only helped close family." The silence on the other end was deafening. I could hear her sharp intake of breath. "But Margaret, we are family. You're like a mother to me." Lies, all. Lies wrapped in that sugary tone she only used when she needed something. That night, I sat on my bed and finally let the tears fall. But they weren't tears of sadness. They were tears of anger and years of pent-up frustration. I cried for every time they'd made me feel like my love was conditional, my presence an inconvenience, my money the only thing that mattered. The next morning, something had shifted in me. I looked in the bathroom mirror and saw a new determination in my tired eyes. For the first time in years, I made coffee without thinking about calling John to check on him. I didn't anxiously check my phone for messages. I was my own priority today. I took out my financial records and did the math I'd been avoiding for years. Rent, $600.36. Months equals $21,600. Groceries, $250 monthly equals $9,000. Gifts, at least $4,000. Medical bills, $1,200. Car payment, $3,000. Furniture, $2,500. Total, $41,300. $41,000 I'd taken from my retirement, savings, and my late husband's insurance money. When John called, I let the phone ring. When he texted Mom, "We need to talk urgently," I deleted it without replying. I went for a walk, not to run errands for them, but just for myself. I passed the park where I used to take John as a child, remembering the boy who'd hug me and say I was the best mom in the world. When had he become this man who saw me as a walking ATM? At the bank, Mr. Wilson, the branch manager who'd processed all my transfers to John and Sarah, looked surprised when I asked to cancel all automatic payments. "Is everything all right, Mrs. Peterson?" His genuine concern touched me. This near stranger showed more care than my own son had in months. As the cancellations were processed, my phone buzzed repeatedly with calls from John and Sarah. I turned it off completely. "Mrs. Peterson," Mr. Wilson said gently, "I've seen how generous you've been with your family. I hope you're not being pressured into this decision. On the contrary," I replied, "I've finally stopped pressuring myself." When I returned home, I found 3 cars parked outside John's. Sarah's, and one I didn't recognize. Through the windows, I could see movement inside my house. My blood ran cold. They still had keys. I took a deep breath and opened the door. John sat on my sofa with his head in his hands. Sarah paced like a caged animal. A well-dressed stranger was examining papers on my dining table, my personal financial documents. What's going on here? My voice sounded stronger than I expected. Sarah rushed over. Margaret, thank goodness you're here. This is Mr. Adams from the law firm we consulted. We're worried about you. John looked up, his eyes showing panic. Mom, the bank said you canceled all our transfers and blocked our account access. Why would you do that? Mr. Adams approached with a professional smile that didn't reach his eyes. Mrs. Peterson, your children are concerned about your mental state. They've asked me to assess the situation. I didn't shake his hand. Instead, I went to my dining table and gathered my papers. These are my private documents. You have no right to go through them. John interrupted with that condescending tone he'd perfected. Mom, we're worried about you. Your behavior has been erratic lately, cutting us off financially, not answering our calls. We think you need help. Sarah tried to take my hand with fake concern. Margaret, sweetie, we know you've been under stress. At your age, confusion is common. The word confusion echoed in my mind. Now, I understood why they'd brought a lawyer. They wanted to declare me incompetent. I am not confused, I said firmly. I am clearer than I've been in years. All of you need to leave my house now. Mr. Adams interjected in that calm, reasonable voice lawyers use. Mrs. Peterson, your family has rights here. They've documented concerning behaviors. Sarah exploded. You can't do this to us. We depended on you. We made financial commitments counting on your support. I looked at her coldly. Commitments based on my money, not my well-being, not my happiness, just my money. John tried to approach me, but I stepped back. He was no longer the little boy who ran to me for comfort. He was a grown man who saw his mother as an obstacle to his comfortable lifestyle. Mom, we made mistakes, he said in what was supposed to be a remorseful voice. The wedding was a misunderstanding. We can fix this if you'll just be reasonable. Reasonable? The word tasted bitter. Being reasonable means continuing to fund your life while you treat me like a stranger. It means pretending it doesn't hurt that I was excluded from my only son's wedding. Mr. Adams packed his briefcase efficiently. This isn't over. Mrs. Peterson, if you're making irrational decisions due to mental decline, a judge can appoint a guardian. I looked him directly in the eyes. Mr. Adams, I suggest you do your homework before threatening a 70-year-old woman who has managed her finances perfectly for 40 years, raised her son alone after her husband died, and until last week was supporting two capable adults. Sarah stopped crying and glared at me with pure hatred. This isn't the end of this, Margaret. We have rights to. Fine, I replied. Hire all the lawyers you want with your own money, because mine is no longer funding your tantrums. As they left, John turned back one last time. You'll regret this. Mom, you'll end up alone with nobody to care for you when you really need it. John, I said with sad clarity, I've been alone for years. The difference is now it's by choice, not neglect. The silence after I closed the door was beautiful, the sound of freedom. The next morning, I visited attorney Mrs. Chen, who specialized in elder law. What your family attempted is financial abuse, she told me. We need to document everything and protect your assets. We calculated the total. I'd given them $41,300 over 3 years. With that money, you could have traveled. Enjoyed your retirement, Mrs. Chen noted. Instead, you supported adults who didn't even respect you enough to invite you to their wedding. I changed all my locks and installed a security system. When Sarah called from different numbers, I didn't answer. I reconnected with my sister Clara, who said, It broke my heart hearing you brag about the money you gave them, as if love could be measured in dollars. My neighbor Mrs. Garcia noticed the changes and reached out. She'd been through similar struggles with her own children. You did the right thing, she assured me. Your responsibility now is to live your own life. John and Sarah escalated their efforts. They filed a petition for guardianship, claiming I was mentally incompetent. But we were prepared. Mrs. Chen presented evidence of my sound mental state and their financial motivations. In court, I stood tall and told my story, not with bitterness, but with truth. I spoke of the $41,300, the secret wedding, the years of being treated as an ATM. The judge ruled in my favor, calling their petition a clear case of financial exploitation. After winning, I sold my house and moved to a smaller apartment near the city center. I donated part of my savings to organizations fighting elder abuse and used the rest to finally live for myself. I traveled, took art classes, made new friends. I never heard from John or Sarah again. I learned they had to downsize and Sarah got her first job. Perhaps hardship taught them what my generosity never could. Now, when I look at the stars from my balcony, I remember the woman I was fearful, manipulated, believing she had to buy love. That woman is gone. In her place is someone who learned that true love is priceless and freedom is worth any cost. My name is Margaret. I'm 72 years old, and I finally learned that the most important person to love and protect is myself.